And the story goes, a detective returns to Vitoria-Gasteiz to solve murders mimicking those allegedly committed by a mass serial killer who is set to be released from prison after spending his time in jail for 20 years. Hey guys, what is up? It's your girl, your average viewer here. I just watched the Spanish psychological thriller and I definitely think it lives up to its genre. This movie was made in 2019, is directed by Daniel Calparsoro. I am not Spanish, so I did watch this with English subtitles. So sit back as I tell the story and give my review. We are shown a series of photos with one female and one male, with each photo increasing in age. Each photo is staged the same way, and the age is increasing by 5 years. In the sleepy killer's place of evil, a woman and man are strapped to a table as he collects some bees. He places the tubes of bees in a contraption in the girl's mouth and closes it so the bees can't get out. He then repeats the same for the man. Our main character, Ismael, is taking a run when he comes across a blonde woman also out for a jog. He notices her wedding ring and whistle. They introduce themselves. He, Ismael, she, Blanca. Ismael, a detective, is on his way to a crime scene for the alleged sleepy killer. By the way, his real name is Unai, not Ismael. He's partnered with Etsy in trying to convince her that the sleepy killer is back. Unai examines bodies and deduces that they're rich kids who don't know each other. He can smell gasoline on the female and also hears a buzzing sound. Inside of her mouth is a live bee. The medical examiner determines the sleepy killer put bees inside of their mouths and doused them in gasoline to irritate the bees. The victims were drugged with rohypnol to capture them, but they were conscious while the bees were inside of them. They died a very painful death. Unai meets the new deputy chief, Alba, also known as Blanca. It's at this moment that we're given a hint that Unai had not been working for whatever reason. Tasio, the person they have in jail for the past 20 years for the original murders, may be completely innocent. While in prison, Tasio has been writing best-selling novels and developed a cult, even though he has no internet access. They are usually identifiable by having a Catalina, which is a sun symbol to ward off evil victims. Unai believes it's the sleepy killer and they should warn the city, but Alba wants to keep the peace and not alarm people. Unai strongly believes he will strike again, but Alba believes it is a copycat. They go to speak with Tasio and meet Mario, a journalist who unsuccessfully tries to get Tasio to talk to him. Tasio greets Unai as Kraken and refuses to speak to Unai with Etsy there. Tasio wants to help catch the killer so people believe he wasn't the murderer. Unai asks about his Catalina tattoo, and Tasio finds it laughable that one of his followers would continue his crimes. If he could convince one of his followers to kill for him, he wouldn't have waited 20 years. Tired of the back and forth, Unai asks Tasio how he knows that he's Kraken. Unai doesn't get much information from Tasio, but they learn that the recent victim's boyfriend accuses her dad of murdering her. They go to visit him, and he is grieving by moving his collection of vertebrae into her room. Etsy attempts to tell him to come down to the station, but he quickly pushes her into a wall and makes a break for it. Unai is able to chase him down. Etsy questions him, but it's quite obvious he's not the killer, just a parent grieving strangely. Alba remarks that she saw Unai's file and hoped he's not investigating this based on a hunch. As Unai is driving to his grandfather's house, he passed by a roadside memorial. His grandfather is a beekeeper, yet the bees only sting Unai. His grandfather placed some apple juice on the bee sting and plants the apple back in the ground. Unai is watching some videos about the original sleepy killer and his murders dubbed the sleeper crimes. As the photos showed us in the beginning, the killings progressed from newborns to 5-year-olds and increased in 5-year increments. Unai falls asleep in the middle of working and a friend of his brings some food. He does some quick slashing on his grandfather's farm before talking to his friends. They are trying to invite him to hang with the friend group again, but he's still reluctant. Unai is going for his run and heads to another police scene. The sleepy killer has killed again and the victims are 25 years old. Unai goes and talks to Tasio. He asks why the killer isn't using yew poison on his recent victims instead of the bees to kill. Tasio suggests that the sleepy killer used U poison to frame him, and maybe he's using bees so he can frame someone else. They go visit Tasio's twin brother Ignacio. He gives the detectives a list of 15 friends, and they decide to figure out the relationship between Tasio and his mom since they didn't see any pictures of her. Unai goes for his run, and Alba joins him this time. She remarks it isn't good that Tasio knows his nickname before running ahead of him. When Unai goes home, he sees a picture of him and now suspects that the sleepy killer is following him. Unai finally goes to a birthday dinner with his friend group, and someone is watching around the corner, and they snap a picture of the cake which says Kraken on it. His friends try to talk about the case, but Unai doesn't give any information. The kid gives the picture of Unai to Mario, and he's trying to get more money from Mario, but Mario just injects him, revealing him to be the sleepy killer. He uploads the photo to Twitter, exposing Unai as Kraken to the whole world. The sleepy killer is taunting Kraken. Unai begins typing his profile about the sleeper crimes as the sleepy killer is committing the next crime. He traps the bees in the mouths of the victims while they're alive and rubs gasoline on their neck to irritate the bees. If you remember, for his day job, Mario is a journalist, and Mario is satisfied with the release of Kraken's identity. Mario is also married to Alba, which completely fits Unai's profile. Unai tries to go get cakes from a bakery when one of the workers recognizes him. She informs him of a case that he can help with, and he quickly runs out of the store. Etsy checked on the list of Tasio's friends and learned that they loved their mother. At her funeral, some redhead guy came up to the twins, and the twins beat the crap out of him. Unai is out for his run again and catches up with Alba. Alba began running after she got pregnant to stay in shape, but unfortunately she had a miscarriage, which ultimately led to her being transferred to their police station. Paula was pregnant when she died in the accident. Unai fiercely remarks that it wasn't an accident, and he and Alba finished their run. Alba meets up with her husband Mario as Unai watches their interaction. A friend of Unai's was driving the car when he intentionally ran it off the road, killing Paula and their baby, plus the friend. But Unai did not die, which is the road marker that we saw earlier. From the documentaries, Unai figures there must have been an incident before the sleepy crimes. At the same time, the sleepy killer is prepping his next bodies, and I must add, he sneaks out of the venue pretty easily and meets up with Alba. Etsy meets up with her brother Eniko at a rave. Unai shares his theory with Alba, but she doesn't believe all of these murders are the work of the sleepy killer. He finally tells her what happened to Paula as Mario secretly watches on. The two attend a parade. I'm not sure what this is, so if you know, please let me know in the comments below. Unai tells Alba he knows a better view up higher, so they go and see it. The sexual tension has been building for the two of them long enough, and they decide to share a kiss just as Mario is watching from the balcony above with his camera. Unfortunately, he knocks over a pile of bricks, and the two chase him on the roof. He manages to escape into the parade. They go back into the parade, which has turned into a crime scene, because the sleepy killer has dropped off his next set of bodies. Etsy shows up high as shit, and Unai quickly removes her from the scene. She correctly deduces that Unai and Alba have a thing going on that I completely missed until it was obvious. We flash back in time to see the boy who is getting beat up by Tasio and Ignacio earlier at his house. His father is beating the shit out of him and only stops because his mom steps in. Being the caring individual she is, she doesn't want to even touch her son and tells him he's going to work. The sleepy killer goes to his backyard to get some U poison and put it in the stew. While the family is eating at the table he's not invited at, they all die, including his siblings. He stages their bodies in the pose we've become familiar with and sets fire to the house. Unai and Etsy go to visit the house, and the officer tells them the only survivor was the red-headed son. We get further confirmation that Mario's the sleepy killer by seeing him color his red hair. As Unai and Alba are doing their morning jog, she informs them that they can't see each other anymore because Mario knows. They share a kiss and decide to get a quick, sweaty shag in a stairwell. It definitely seems like Alba enjoyed this more than with her husband. Earlier, Ignacio implied he covered Tasio's rape crime because the girl was underage. Mario has a complete picture that shows both Ignacio and Tasio were a part of this and sends it to the press. The detectives are at Ignacio's event that Mario and Alba are attending as well. Everyone receives a picture during the press conference, causing Ignacio to run while Etsy and Unai chase him. Unai goes to visit Tassio to get more information about everything going on. Tassio has pieced together that he believes the sleepy killer is one of his followers, Aniko. Unai is in no mood for the bullshit and readily believes that Aniko is the sleepy killer. There is a chase through his shop which leads to Aniko getting away. Alba pressed her team to be on high alert for Aniko at this next event as well as the victims. At the event, Unai notices an ambulance at a place. When they search inside of it, they find the bodies of Aniko and one of Unai's friends' sister. Ignacio's lawyer calls and the detectives head to his house. They have evidence that Ignacio was in the house the whole night and didn't kill anybody. Etsy gets ballsy and gets in his face. This causes a rumble which leads to the detectives being suspended. Is this going to stop them from working? Mario is there when Tazio gets out of prison to escort him, meeting up with Ignacio under the guise of writing a piece about them. He finally reveals to them that he's the boy whom they beat up all those years ago. We get another flashback that shows the twins' mom had 3 children, with Mario being the third. He ended up getting adopted by a nunnery under the name Nancho. The detectives go to Nancho's previous place of residence and learn he died from a lamp fire. The person shows them a photo album of Nancho and his roommate Mario. The two were best friends and almost looked identical at one point. Unai tries to call Alba and tell her to leave her house if Mario is there, but she is easily overpowered by Mario. He tells her how close he was to changing upon finding out she was pregnant. Etsy and Unai arrive at their empty house but notice a photograph with a large house in the background. Unai's grandfather tells him that bees always return to their nest, and the bee from one of the victims easily flies back into its nest. They break into the house. Etsy falls down an unstable floor, and Unai is injected with the rohypnol. Mario remarks how he wasn't intending on Alba to be his victim, but he fully intended on Unai being his next victim. Etsy finds a door right outside his lab, but she can't break it down. Mario puts the bees inside of Alba first, as Unai is able to break free from his restraints and grab his gun. He tries shooting at Mario, but is disoriented. As Mario is focused on overpowering Unai, Alba is able to free herself. Before Mario can react, Etsy shoots him square in the head. Unai is in the hospital on life support as we see his grandfather burying the apple from earlier, and now Unai is awake. So that is a full story of what happened in this movie. Now I'm going to tell you some questions I had and leave you with my final opinion. For some reason, Unai's grandfather is a beekeeper. When I first saw this, I thought it would have some significance to the story besides bees return to their nest and the apple juice, but it doesn't really do anything. Unai asks Alba if she would let him into her house. I don't quite understand the context behind that. If you understand that, maybe you can explain it to me. Third, this makes me think that the sleepy killer was getting ready to frame Unai's grandfather with the bees, considering Tasio said earlier that the sleepy killer used yew poison to frame Tasio. Who is he using bees to frame? Because even if he was trying to frame Unai doesn't deal with the bees at all. In fact, he gets stung by it. I'm not sure who he was trying to frame instead. We only learn about Aniko, so we believe that he is the killer. He fits the puzzle piece perfectly. He is a red herring. Also, the little dancing scene with him and Etsy does not scream brother and sister to me at all, but it definitely screams something else. And lastly, the room Ignacio runs away in is pretty cool. I don't know. I just like the solid background and then the stairs being like the focal point. I thought it was pretty cool. So, how do I feel about this movie? I give this movie 3 out of 4 stars. I actually really like this movie, but I feel like it had too much detail. I'm not sure what I'm talking about, but I know what I'm talking about. I stick by what I said earlier, that this would have been a cool series about the murders for each years, but as a movie there was so much background information that we needed to know to fully understand everything, which makes sense for the runtime. I believe the characters were well thought out, but you would not be able to convince me that other people could possibly tell Unai and Alba had some sexual energy. This, if I take a guesstimation, this movie happened over the course of at least a week. There's no way that other people could see the sexual attention in at least a week, and most of their meetings were jogging. The only inkling that you would have that these two people would be attracted to each other is the fact that they're both really attractive people, and that's it. One question I have for you, and I'm going to put a poll in this video. Was Mario the sleepy killer on the behalf of Nacho? Or did Mario actually die in the lamp fire and Nacho took over his identity? Thanks for listening to me draw on about this cool movie, and I hope that you press the like button to let me know I'm doing awesome. I post a review once a week, typically Wednesday mornings, so I'll see you next week. Bye!